On June 1st, 2009, a completely modern, highly automated Airbus A330 just vanished, without a trace, over the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. For almost 2 years, the world was left with this absolutely chilling mystery. So today, we're going to unravel what happened to Air France Flight 447 and explore how its tragic loss actually ended up making flying safer for all of us.
I mean, this was the question that had everyone baffled, right? Investigators, the public, everyone. This wasn't some old plane from a bygone era. This was a state-of-the-art jetliner, packed with redundant systems, GPS tracking, and a top-tier crew. For it to just disappear? Well, it seemed impossible. And at the heart of this entire mystery was an immediate and just devastating human cost. 228 souls, passengers and crew, were on that flight, lost in the middle of the night, thousands of meters above a dark ocean. Okay, so let's set the scene. The flight was just a routine overnight trip from Rio de Janeiro to Paris. For hours, everything was totally normal. But as the plane flew into that vast, unmonitored airspace over the mid-Atlantic, it was heading straight for a well-known and formidable challenge. This area, which pilots call the ITCZ, is basically a belt of towering thunderstorms that hangs out near the equator. Flying through it at night, the crew of AF 447 found exactly what the forecasts predicted: some turbulence and, this is the crucial part, high-altitude ice crystals.
So after the plane missed its scheduled check-in with air traffic control, this agonizing silence began. The first search parties only found scattered bits of floating debris, which offered no real clues. Finding the actual answers would mean launching one of the most difficult and expensive search operations in aviation history.
You see, the main wreckage, including those all-important black boxes, was resting on this treacherous, mountainous seabed nearly 4 kilometers. That's about 2.5 miles, straight down. It took a whole fleet of advanced sonar ships and robotic submarines almost 2 full years to finally find them. The truth was literally locked away in the crushing depths of the Atlantic.
But with the recovery of the cockpit voice and flight data recorders in April 2011, investigators could finally piece together the terrifying final moments of Flight 447. And the data told a story not of a sudden catastrophic explosion, but of a cascade of small failures and profound human confusion.
The black boxes revealed this chain of events that just unfolded with terrifying speed. Let's walk through it. At 02:10 and 5 seconds, it starts. Ice crystals clog up the airspeed sensors and the autopilot suddenly kicks off. Just 2 seconds later, the stall warning starts blaring. In response, the pilot flying makes a critical mistake. He pulls his side stick back, pitching the plane's nose up. A little over a minute later, the captain gets back to the cockpit, but by then it's too late. The jet is in a deep stall. For the next 3 agonizing minutes, the A330 just fell from the sky before hitting the ocean.
So here's the crucial point. The plane didn't just fall. It was put into a stall, from which it never recovered. So the investigation then shifted from what happened to the much more complex question of why. How could a highly trained crew not recognize and fix a basic aerodynamic stall? Now, let's just be super clear about what a stall is. It is not when the engines quit. The engines on Flight 447 were working perfectly the whole time. A stall is all about the wings. It happens when the wings are angled so steeply against the air that they can't create lift anymore. And the recovery procedure is simple. It's universal. You push the nose down to get speed and lift back.
But you have to remember, the crew of 447 wasn't dealing with a simple textbook problem. They were completely blindsided. That sudden autopilot disconnect triggered what's called a startle effect, a moment of pure shock that can just tank your judgment. Combine that with instruments giving them garbage readings, a blizzard of alarms, and the total blackness outside, they got cognitively tunneled. They were fixated on little problems, and they lost the big picture of what the plane was actually doing.
This is the stark, chilling conclusion from the official French investigation report, and it really gets to the core of the tragedy. Even with the stall warning blaring for nearly a full minute and the plane dropping at over 10,000 feet per minute, the crew just did not understand what was happening to them. A really key piece of this puzzle lies in the Airbus cockpit design. Now, unlike a traditional control yoke, where both pilots' controls are linked and move together, one moves, the other moves, Airbus uses independent side sticks. This had a critical consequence. The pilot who kept making the nose-up inputs, the very action keeping the plane stalled, was doing it without the other pilot even feeling it.
In a moment of extreme confusion, that critical piece of physical feedback was just missing.
So, while the story of AF447 is absolutely one of tragedy and human error, what came next? It's a story of profound and lasting change. The lessons learned from those 4 minutes in the dark have fundamentally reshaped aviation safety all around the world.
Yeah, the accident was a massive wake-up call for the entire industry. It exposed this dangerous paradox. Automation had become so incredibly reliable that it was actually eroding the fundamental manual flying skills pilots needed for those super rare moments when that same automation failed. A critical gap in training and philosophy had been laid bare.
And the response was swift and it was comprehensive. First, new, more robust airspeed sensors, those are the pitot tubes, were mandated to resist icing. Second, and this is huge, pilot training was completely overhauled with a new focus on manual flying skills and realistic stall recovery. Cockpit procedures were rewritten to improve how crews communicate during high-stress situations, the aircraft systems themselves were reevaluated, and finally, global regulators issued brand new rules for handling the exact kind of problem that started this whole terrible chain of events.
You know, the legacy of Air France 447 is just profound. Every single flight you take today is safer because of the lessons that were learned from its loss. This tragedy was a painful but incredibly powerful catalyst that forced the entire aviation world to rethink the crucial relationship between human pilots and the automated systems they command.
And that really leaves us with a final, much broader question. As our world becomes more and more automated in every way, the story of Flight 447 is this powerful reminder of the irreplaceable value of fundamental human skill, especially for those moments when the unexpected happens and the machines suddenly go silent.
Subscribe to my channel.